Hi everyone, my name is Wana and welcome to Culture Diaries. Now our guest on the show today is a filmmaker. His advertising work has garnered him a lot of awards, but his narrative film has been strongly praised for its very strong visceral and visual language. I'd like you to join me as I welcome Tolu Ajayi. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. Advertising, filmmaking. Do you ever feel like you have to sort of prove yourself in the sort of filmmaking space?
Yeah, I came into filmmaking with a strong sense of not thinking I had what it took to be, what's the word? To have that sense of strong artistic value, because what we did was we're more interested in making things for short-term goals. So coming into filmmaking, you felt that am I a fraud? I've just been making stuff for soap, for phones, charge cards. So yeah, there was that that sense of it, and at the end of the day, we all realized that advertising did offer you training to be able to tell stories. So you had to just switch like a channel and just be more focused on telling the truth or communicate what you were really feeling about the subject matter.
But that's really big of you to actually admit, because I think a lot of people wouldn't admit the sense of sort of insecurity or imposter syndrome, so to speak.
Yes, I don't see any reason in not doing that. I think a lot of my colleagues who started out as artists and went through that brain shift into going into marketing communications do feel that they're not in tune with what's going on. Quite a lot of them. It's actually something I do. I'm practically like an evangelist. And I think, guys, we can go this. Let's go back and let's do this, because the industry is at the point where we all need to have like a voice. So I think it's something that runs through quite a few people, except for some creatives that have stayed consistent in both worlds. You're definitely going to feel a shift.
But I want to know how sort of, because doing advertising for so long and you're working on very short formats and it's branded content as well. How do you think that has influenced your sense or style of filmmaking? Because I mean, people have spoken about your work and said, it's the language is very strong. And I think for me, a sense of that comes from working in advertising, because you have to really grab people's attention in a matter of minutes. Yeah,
actually, that's actually very right. In advertising, when you have to get to your audience, and the persuasive communication often has, tropes, things that you have to do. So those elements come in. When you have to create something that pulls the audience in. However, because you do it for such a short, you have 45 seconds or 30 seconds, max a minute, you run out of stamina. Is what may be lacking. The sense of, okay, now that I've pushed everything, what do I do? How do I sustain the narrative? That also becomes, something else you have to think about, down the line.
So have you been able to sort of deal with that transition, this idea of sustaining the narrative?
Yeah, it's basically, you serve the story. You have to look for what the story is trying to say, and you have to serve that. You're not serving a client, you're not serving a corporation, you're serving the story, and you have to kind of really grind down to find out what is this story really about. And in advertising, it's easy because there's so many cues they've given you. You have logos, you have the objective. You're kind of in a world that's kind of prepared. Even your cast is wearing clothes that are colored in a brand identity. But in storytelling, you have to find out what that is, and it can't even be obvious. You have to ensure that people do get that. I think that's part of that journey is what I'm still on myself, trying to make sure that it comes through.
Are you enjoying the journey though?
Yes, it's just not it's not the same thing. It's gratifying on a whole different level. Yes,
that's interesting. What level? Tell me.
It's gratifying in the sense that there's a strong sense of ownership. You're not guided by outside forces. You're responsible for what you're putting out there. It's not going to get lost in the smoothie of all the campaign activities. You're putting something out that has, a life of its own, and would outlive it, the cycle, the 3-month cycle of a TV campaign.
So I want to know, when was the first time you made a piece of work and you felt, I'm finally finding my voice? Or when was the first time? What piece of work was that?
I've always made things. If we said the first time, I went back to, the first comic book I drew that had an original character. But I think when I come back to professional, the first thing I did that I think I really had was Blink. I think Blink was the thing I said, oh, yeah, that all these ideas and stories I've always had in my mind, I can actually make something for myself. And it was a surprise hit. I didn't actually make it to bum rush, the artistic world. I made it as a spec film. I wanted my clients to know I could make films, so I could use that as pitch material. So I didn't actually we didn't enter into proper film festivals. It just kind of took off on its own, and it got where it did. So yeah.
So for the sake of those who are watching, give us a background into Blink and what it's about.
Okay. Yeah. Blink is it's like a supernatural thriller. It's based on someone locked in a loop of recurrent dreams or nightmares, so to speak. And it has a message at the end once you get to it. So it's based on all the stuff I've always liked, Twilight Zone, M. Night Shyamalan films. And it's a 12-minute short film that can be found on the internet.
But did you expect that reception?
No, I thought it was good. I thought it was good from the reaction I was getting from my friends. As a matter of fact, I think the first person that really validated for me was my editor, Banjo. The way he was treating the material was how I was like, okay, he likes it. Yeah, okay. All right. Because I wasn't not being very sure of what you were trying to do, not really sure what the outcome would be. You knew what you were trying to do, the story you're trying to tell. But whether or not, the outcome will be received is always gratifying, I guess.
So The Encounter is one of these sort of iconic stories that a lot of us never knew about. We all had this exercise book with an Olympian jumping over, doing the high jump.
Yes.
And we never knew that was a real person and there was a story behind that person. So what drew you to telling this particular guy's story in that form as well?
Well, the story, when I first read, the original story was two guys in the room yelling at each other. It's the original encounter was by Henry Onyema, who basically wanted to tell the story of what happened between this fractured relationship between Ojukwu and Ifeajuna. And the short story was, you did this, you did this, you did this. And then I didn't want to do it. It was so full of, it's just invective-laden stuff. It's just not going to. Then I had a meeting with Henry. Henry decided to give me this, very enriching background of, oh, these guys used to be friends. I was like, oh, good. So there's something before the room and yelling at each other. So I now got into it. So I told my team, I was like, guys, this is going to be trouble, but I think we should do it. Then as I started to do the research, I now found out about the exercise book. I found out about the exercise book like 2 months in, when I was reading up on Ifeajuna on the internet. And I said, every Nigerian has to find out about this, because I've equally been mystified. Like, who's this guy on this exercise book? And if you look at the drawing really well, he did that jump with a sneaker on one foot and was barefoot on the other one.
Yes.
Yes. And they actually kept that in the drawing. And that's how he actually made the jump. And that's how I was able to actually recognize him when I was looking for the footage of him making the jump at the end of the film.
Were you nervous about making this? Because, we already have a sort of troubled political climate, which is resurrecting as well right now. Did you have any worries making that?
Yes, I was very ethnically, I'm ethnically wrong. I'm ethnically wrong for the part.
Yeah, because it would be like a Yoruba man telling an Igbo man's story,
Oh, yeah. You actually we had some, we had those internet keyboard warriors. We had death threats.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously.
So it wasn't all just, I thought people praised it and that was it.
No. We had some, because at the time the film came out coincidentally at the time there was agitation for that. So it got some attention from, some quarters, and people were like, no, this is probably propaganda, from people who had not seen it. Well, we did the screening a few times. There were guys in the audience who said to us, this your film is going to create problems. I'm really glad that's not happened, and that the family and people who see it from both sides have said, yeah, this film kind of encapsulates what we're trying to say about the war. The film essentially is really not about who did what to whom. It's really about what happens when we all pursue ideologies and we all have to kind of do different things.
Something I really loved about the story is these two very strong characters. I really love sort of character-driven stories. And it's about these two very strong characters. And they really drive the narrative. And even just seeing their shifts and their tones, and in that one conversation, you actually get a sense of their friendship as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to also attribute that to the writing, too. What was it like working with the people who wrote the story? And being able to sort of translate their story to the screen.
I think what happened was that as a team, we need to find the arc for the story. And the arc for the story had to start from, because something we all worked together on. The original story, as I told you, was based on accusation. And that's basically how the conversation on Biafra itself has been. It was your fault, it was your fault, it was your fault, it was your fault. But what we found out in the story, and that's because Sami Egbeme was one of the writers, and also Frederick Obiora. He lives in the UK. And what Frederick was to do was to help us to contextualize it more from what Ojukwu was like, from his research, from over there. But the heart of the story was for it to be a tale of love lost. So that's how the story had to now start from the background that it once had, and ultimately to the decision that had to be taken at the end of the short film. So it was something that was found out at the level of treatment. Then we went through about 5 drafts to get to that point.
Why did you shy away from making it into a feature?
I didn't shy away from it. I don't think the studio was ready at that time for what it took. We actually, did discuss a feature. And I think once the studio is able to focus on what they want to do with it, I think there's material for a feature.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, I think it'll make for a compelling feature.
I think so too. Once someone can write a check real quick, I think the feature should come out,
So now let's enter industry talk a bit. And we talked about story. One of the things that people tend to complain about, they say our production values are like, we're evolving, we're moving really quick.
Yeah.
But somehow the writing of the stories are not evolving as fast as the production values. And I want to know what your thoughts on that are.
I think technical things tend to accelerate very quickly. There are many reasons why technical has outstripped storytelling. There's been training has kind of really sped up, with a lot of external factors, the internet, the democratization of equipment, and also the presence of certain companies in Nigeria that train staff. For the culture, and I think we're ultimately getting there, where the industry came from wasn't very literary based. And I think it's going back there. And it's a slow thing. It's also going to take educating the audience. Because if the audience develops an appetite for material that's sensitive and is layered, I think too, filmmakers too would go in that direction. Because we're a demand-based, industry, people don't feel the need to go for things with depth. I happen to know that quite a few directors read, and they like books that have nuance, but they don't feel the need to put it in the work. And it's strange because it's kind of schizophrenic the way you have directors that can actually do that kind of work, but they're not investing in it because it's not necessary. And I think ultimately, as the audience demands it, or people realize that, you can both be cerebral and entertaining, and that comes together, then that starts to happen. I believe that's so.
But are we still going to keep waiting for the audience? Because there's always this conversation about, the audience is not interested in this. The audience wants to be entertained. Nigeria is already stressful as it is. Nobody wants to rack their brain. Nobody needs. Nobody wants to overthink when they go out to watch a movie. They want to be entertained. But when it comes to foreign films, we sit down and watch art house cinema, and we watch all these very incoherent films. When it comes to our own films, we keep saying that, and I'm wondering if it's just a cop-out.
It is. It's partly a cop-out. Again, it's partly a cop-out by people saying, nah, they don't need it. I think it's going to take filmmakers who can incorporate that element, because the truth is people don't know what they want until they see it. And it's going to take, the courage of filmmakers who know, okay, I need to make something that's thematic and at the same time entertaining, so people understand that, both can work together.
Okay, so what projects are you working on right now that we need to get
I have
excited
3
about?
scripts. Yes, I have 3 scripts.
3, wow.
They're basically 3 ideas that
Okay.
are being built. I intend to, currently I'm looking for a way to make Blink into a feature. So it's not the same story, but it's in the same universe. I have another story which is fun and engaging, but also has, I tend to like stuff that has an underlying theme underneath. So I have about 2 more of those. It's fun. It's basically targeting like university kids, Then there's a 3rd one which has foreign feature written all over it, and it's about finding your identity, within a mixed context. Basically, when a father has a child and leaves, an expat has a child and leaves the child in the country, to deal with, what the social circumstances are. So
I'm very interested in that story.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we'll talk more. Tree of Life.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's an interesting one. I love that
I
film.
love that film.
But I think a lot of people find it boring.
Depends. Oh, this is so tough.
I'll be kind to you. I'll give you 2.
Okay. Maker of Black Swan and...
Is that Aronofsky?
Yeah, Aronofsky.
Aronofsky.
Darren, yes.
Darren
Aronofsky.
Yeah.
And Ava DuVernay.
Oh, okay. I like those.
The food that came to my mouth was that came to my mind was it's like a kumquat or guava.
Oh.
Yeah. It's green, but sweet, and seeds. Complicated, swallow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guava. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just like easy to feast on, but then it just gets uncomfortable in the mouth.
It gets uncomfortable after a while. Searching, I think I'm still searching. Yeah. I'd like to be a nurse.
Why?
I take care of people like properly, like really take care of people and know what people feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
You sound like it's like doctors are a little insensitive.
I've actually
compared to the nurses.
I like to know how to take care of people properly, as in know exactly how they're feeling, and actually be able to do something about something remedial then there. I'm saying exactly what I'm thinking.
You got us all emo.
Yeah. So living my life like it's golden.
That would be my song.
Oh wow, there you go.
Jill Scott, I like that one.
Just starting what I'm doing now earlier. You should have jumped out of a plane when you were 28.
So just start now. Start
now. Totally, absolutely. I'm an evangelist of that. I think telling stories changes the world. Telling our stories changes the world. Totally believe that. That the film made them cry, and that they cried. They felt something about the way the character was being treated, and I thought that was a really good compliment as to what we're trying to do with the film.
Tolu Ajayi, thank you for coming on Culture Diaries.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And we hope that you will come back again when we invite you.
Yes, I will definitely be back, hopefully with more stuff.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Culture Diaries. Big, massive thank you to Tolu Ajayi, our guest on the show today. And of course, a bigger shout out goes to Source Production for loaning us their beautiful studio. Don't forget, you should like, subscribe, and share the videos as well. And please, you'll find all our information at the bottom of the screen. Till next time, remember, art is life.